Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something that trips up so many of us, not just in learning a new language, but, in life itself.
Yeah, that fear of speaking up, finding your confidence, really letting your voice be heard.
Exactly. And we've got some really compelling source material for this dive. We've been digging into excerpts from How to Think Smart and Speak Fluent.
It shares this powerful, very personal story of a young woman named Alina and her whole journey. It's way more than just language tips.
It really is. It's about a total shift in perspective, isn't it?
Completely.
So the book kicks off with Alina. She's 24, describes quiet, thoughtful, curious. And she has this big dream.
Fluent English, clear thinking. That's what she wants.
And she's doing everything she thinks she should, right?
Yeah.
Memorizing words, filling up notebooks, watching videos, even talking to herself. All the inputs were there.
Right. But the source highlights that classic, really painful problem. The moment she actually needs to speak to someone, like in real life,
Oof.
her mind just freezes. The words she knows, gone. Confidence, shattered. She'd whisper, I know the words. Why can't I say them?
Oh, that feeling. Your brain just disconnecting under pressure.
Yeah.
So relatable for, well, probably millions of learners.
Absolutely. You feel like the knowledge is in there somewhere, but getting it out when it counts, it just collapses.
So our mission today is to really unpack Alina's story. We want to uncover those key turning points, the aha moments, the actual strategies she found.
Yeah, the things that moved her from those whispered fears to finding a voice that eventually inspired thousands.
What are the essential nuggets from her story that you, the listener, can maybe grab onto and use in your own journey?
Exactly. We're going to follow her path, starting right at the beginning with that initial struggle and a really unexpected encounter that basically changed everything.
Okay, let's get into it. Alina's stuck. She's frustrated. She's in the library, feeling the weight of this inability to speak.
And she notices this old woman. The source paints a picture, calm presence, round glasses, a long gray scarf, someone with a different kind of energy.
And this is where the first really foundational insight drops. The old woman looks at Alina, and her words are incredibly simple, almost deceptively so.
She says, you're trying too hard to speak, but you're not training your mind to think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stop right there. That's huge.
It is. She goes on, you think in fear. Fear of mistakes, fear of silence. But if you train your mind to think smart, the words will follow, like music follows rhythm.
That is such a profound reframing. It completely flips the script, doesn't it? Away from the mechanics of language, grammar, vocab, towards the internal stuff, the psychology.
Totally. And for someone like Alina, who was clearly focused on the rules, the words, hearing the problem was her thinking under pressure, not her actual knowledge. That must have been, well, revolutionary.
But here's the twist, the surprising how. What does the old woman give her to train her mind to think smart? Not a textbook, no grammar drills.
No, a storybook. Simple stories, but with hidden lessons packed inside.
A storybook?
Yeah. And the instruction wasn't, analyze the sentences. It was read slowly out loud. Understand the story. Think about the message. Feel it. Live it, almost.
So engage with it emotionally, conceptually, not just intellectually dissecting it.
Precisely. And Alina starts doing this, reading these stories aloud. The source says her voice trembled at first.
Well, I can just picture that. The fear is still right there.
But she keeps going, focusing on the meaning, the feeling of the story.
And that's where the source talks about a magical shift. She actually starts to enjoy it.
Right. It stops being this chore, this other thing she might fail at, and becomes engaging, something she connects with.
And this leads to a new practice. Not just reading, but then retelling the stories but in her own words.
Yes, and this is crucial. It's not about memorizing the exact sentences from the book.
It's about creation, isn't it? Not just recall.
Exactly. She's building new sentences, formulating her own thoughts based on what she understood. This is the active process, training her mind to operate in English.
And the result of this shift.
Well, her sentences start getting longer, more complex. Her confidence, which was totally shattered, starts coming back.
And she begins to actually think in English, not with that old paralyzing fear, but with clarity.
Mm-hmm. The old woman, seeing this change, gives her another little gem. You're not just learning English, you're learning how to think.
It just keeps reinforcing that connection. Language ability, cognitive clarity, emotional say, they're all tangled up.
They really are.
Okay, so she's building this internal shift. Now, the source describes the first real-world test, and it's such a common scenario. Seeing lost tourists near the metro.
Yes. The classic moment where before she absolutely would have just, looked away, kept walking, avoided it completely.
Paralyzed by the idea of having to speak.
But this time, something's different. Something really has shifted inside. She walks up, she smiles, offers help.
And gives them directions.
Yeah.
Clearly. Calmly.
Yes. Clearly, calmly, and in that moment, fluently.
Wow. And the impact of that simple interaction. It was huge for her, wasn't it?
Massive. It wasn't just about stringing English words together. She used her language to help someone, to make a real human connection.
That connection piece feels so important. It wasn't about performance, it was about purpose.
Exactly. Her words had an impact, solved a problem, made someone else feel better. She wrote in her journal that night, and this is a real nugget for listeners. Fluency isn't just about words, it's about thinking smart.
Okay.
Speaking is easy when you're not scared to think.
That just nails it, doesn't it? The core lesson of this first phase. It wasn't about needing more words.
No, it was about removing the fear that was blocking the words she already had, freeing her mind to actually use the language.
Okay, so moving forward, the source even describes a physical change in her. Walking differently, making eye contact.
Yeah, that internal shift starts showing on the outside. She carries herself differently.
Which gives her the courage for the next step, visiting the Confidence Cafe. This place sounds amazing.
It does, an English-only meetup spot, specifically for learners. And the sign apparently said, "Speak to learn. Learn to speak. Mistakes welcome."
That mistakes welcome bit, that's gold. Creating that psychologically safe space.
Absolutely key. She meets Grace there, who sounds incredibly welcoming, reassuring everyone that they're all learners, accents are fine, no need to apologize.
So she joins this diverse group, people from Brazil, Japan, Egypt, Korea, all sharing that same vulnerability, that same goal.
And the topic for the day. Almost perfectly timed for Alina's journey.
What was it?
Talk about a mistake that taught you something.
Oh, wow. Directly confronting the thing that used to shut her down.
Right. The source describes her hesitation, sweaty palms, heart racing, the old feelings surge back.
But then she remembers the old woman's words.
Think smart. Don't fear silence.
And she decides to share, what was it? Her food room mistake.
Yeah, some funny mix-up. And the reaction, everyone laughed, but kindly, including Alina herself.
And in that shared laughter, the lesson just clicks, doesn't it? Mistakes aren't failures.
They're bridges. Bridges to better understanding, better memory. Grace reinforces it. We don't fear mistakes, we use them. That's smart thinking.
So this community experience opens up another layer of fluency for Alina. It's not just about speaking at people.
No, it's about connection in conversation. Listening, pausing, responding thoughtfully. Not just reacting in panic.
And Grace adds another insight, reframing the goal entirely.
Yeah, she says the smartest speakers aren't the fastest ones. They're the ones who listen, think clearly, and respond with meaning.
Speed isn't the goal. Clarity and connection are. That's huge.
Changes everything. Alina's goal shifts. Not fast, just clear, calm, and real.
And spending time there just interacting, listening, thinking. Her mind starts filling with English phrases naturally.
Organically, yeah. She stopped translating in her head. She's just understanding, processing directly in English.
Her journal entry from this time really captures that expanded view.
It does. Think smart, speak slow, mistakes are messages. Fluency is not perfection, it's connection.
And then she takes a really big, vulnerable step, recording herself speaking and putting it online.
Super brave. And she assesses it not by asking, was it perfect?
Yeah.
Because she knew the answer was no.
But by asking,
Was it powerful? And the answer was yes, because it was authentic.
and the response she got, people resonated with that honesty, didn't they?
Totally. Messages poured in. Her voice mattered because it was real, not because it was flawless. And this is where that deeper secret starts to crystallize.
Which is?
Fluent speaking isn't ultimately about sounding like a native speaker. It's about thinking like a communicator.
Feeling like a communicator. I like that. It's about intent, clarity, connection, not just perfect pronunciation.
Exactly. And this growing confidence, this willingness to be heard, leads right into her next big challenge, the Spotlight Challenge.
Ah, okay. Grace introduces this.
3 minutes. Tell a story in English. Small audience at the cafe.
And bam, the old fears come rushing back.
Instantly. Freezing, forgetting words, being laughed at, all those nightmares resurface.
It's like a direct showdown with her past self. But this time, there's another voice inside.
Yes, a stronger one. You've grown. You've trained your mind. You don't need perfect. You need presence.
Presence over perfection. And she chooses her story carefully, not something academic.
No, something small, personal, deeply meaningful. Her grandmother's garden.
And the lesson from her grandmother.
Flowers grow slowly, but they grow strong. Be like a flower. Simple, but powerful.
That garden analogy becomes really central, doesn't it? Her prep isn't about cramming.
No, it's about clarity, emotion, meaning. The source even mentions she practiced breathing. Slow breath before sentences, calm pause after ideas.
That's the smart thinking in action, regulating the physical response to stress.
Totally. Managing her nervous system so her mind stays clear, and when she gives the speech, she connects the garden story directly to learning English.
How she wanted fast results, memorized, panicked.
Right, until she slowed down, thought smarter, stopped fearing mistakes, and actually started enjoying the process, cultivating it.
The metaphor lands perfectly. Fluency isn't a race, it's a garden. Plant words, water with practice, give sunshine confidence, mistakes, stories.
And it slowly, organically blooms.
The outcome described is really moving. Silence, then applause.
And Grace's reaction seals it. That was the most fluent thing I've heard today. She didn't mean fast or flawless.
She meant truthful.
Exactly. Fluency is not about speed. It's about truth. You spoke with heart. That's smart speaking.
And Alina's realization in her journal that night. Just beautiful.
My voice is not perfect, but it is mine, and that makes it powerful. Wow.
That's not just about English, is it? That's deep self-acceptance right there.
Absolutely. And having truly owned her voice, her whole energy shifts again. She speaks with more purpose now.
Which leads her to meet Daria, a 16-year-old girl at the cafe.
Who is basically Alina 1.0, nervous, clutching a notebook, terrified to speak, feeling stupid.
It must have been like looking right into a mirror from her past.
For sure. And Alina knows exactly what Daria needs to hear. Because she needed to hear it herself.
She shares those key messages she learned.
Yeah. You don't have to be fast, be clear. Don't have to be perfect, be real. Mistakes don't make you weak, they make you brave. Every mistake is a teacher. She even shares the food room story.
So they start meeting weekly. Alina doesn't hit her with grammar rules.
No, she shows her how to slow down, breathe, listen. Shares practical notebook tricks, word maps, sentence starters, mini stories. Things that build confidence through small, achievable wins.
Tangible steps.
And maybe the most important gift Alina gives her.
Patience.
Patience. Creates that safe space, that garden, for Daria's voice to grow slowly but strongly. No pressure.
And Grace notices this transformation happening, not just in Daria, but in Alina.
Right. She tells Alina, you're doing something beautiful. You've become a mentor. And crucially, that's leadership.
Passing on knowledge, empowering others, that's the highest form of smart thinking.
It really is. And Daria, feeling her own growth, tells Alina, you speak like a native now.
But Alina corrects her focus, right?
Gently, yeah. No, I speak like myself. That's even better. Prioritizing authenticity always.
And Daria, inspired, gives her own Speak Smart Challenge speech.
Hesitant, sure, but brave. Voice clear, honest. She's learned fluency is tied to confidence. Mistakes are just steps.
That's such a beautiful full circle moment.
It really is. Grace points out Alina didn't just learn fluency, she passed it on. And that act of giving back cemented her own progress.
Her journey isn't just hers anymore.
Exactly. Her journal reflects it. To speak well, think smart. To think smart, believe in growth. To grow, help someone bloom. And then, this is no longer just my journey, it's our journey.
Wow. And this newfound confidence and presence, it's not just for practice sessions, right? The source describes this incident on the metro.
Yeah, rainy Saturday, totally unexpected. Train stops, lights flicker, rapid French announcement, chaos light.
Confusion, crying kid, lost tourists, an elderly woman looking lost. A real moment of stress.
And Alina's reaction is incredible. Takes off her headphones, stands up, heart's pounding. The physical fear is still there.
But her mind stays clear.
That's it. She takes a deep breath. This is the trained presence, the smart thinking, kicking in automatically under pressure.
She goes to the tourists first.
Yep. Gently explains in clear English. Technical problem, waiting, no danger, just a delay. Their relief is instant. They thank her, compliment her English.
And her response is perfect.
So simple and wise. I speak slowly. That helps. Acknowledging her strategy.
Then she helps the elderly woman, using simple English and French, slowly, with empathy.
And even calms the crying child with a little magic coin trick.
She didn't try to be fancy. She didn't panic. She just stayed present.
And because of her, the whole vibe in that train car shifts. Fear fades into calm.
When the train starts moving again, people actually applaud her. The tourist calls her a guide, a leader.
But Alina's perspective is so grounded, she thinks, I'm just someone who used to be afraid to speak.
It wasn't about showing off skills. It was about showing up to help. That's real fluency in action.
Mm-hmm. Her journal entry nails it. Crisis teaches confidence. Real fluency is calm in the storm.
Not perfect grammar.
But perfect presence. Not fast speech, but thoughtful words. She learned. Listen first. Help next. Trust yourself.
And that reflection. Fear used to be the loudest voice in my head. Now, it's wisdom. Just incredible transformation.
And this courage, this clarity, it doesn't go unnoticed on a wider scale. An email arrives.
An invitation.
To speak at the Global Learner Summit, online event, thousands of learners worldwide.
And they recognized her specifically for her journey. Fear to fluency, helping others?
Exactly. The old voice of doubt pipes up, are you sure you're good enough?
But the new voice, the one that handled the metro crisis.
It's stronger. You are ready. She accepts.
Her prep for this huge audience isn't about being impressive, though.
No, it's about preparing to share, authentically. Grace tells her the night before, being scared is okay, it makes it real.
So the summit moment arrives. Thousands of faces on screen from everywhere. How does she start?
Simply, honestly. Tells them she's not a teacher, not an actor, not a native speaker, just someone who used to freeze.
And her core message.
So powerful. You don't have to be fluent to be confident. Just believe your words matter.
Then she shares her whole story. The silent girl, the notebook, the cafe, the mentor, the train.
Yeah, framing her journey as becoming a guide. For herself first, and now maybe for others.
What were the key takeaways she offered?
Things like, don't need perfect grammar, need brave sentences, don't need huge vocabulary, need real words from your heart, smartest thinking, believing small steps are enough.
And the most fluent speaking?
Is your voice matching your truth?
The impact must have been immediate.
Totally. Messages flooding in. You inspire me, I cried. Now I believe I can speak too. Her honesty connected globally.
And opportunities followed. Magazine features, translation requests, podcasts.
Yeah. The girl who hid became a voice for millions. She reflects with grace, raising a virtual toast to brave voices and clear minds.
Walking home, the city lights must have felt different.
Like they reflected how far her voice had traveled. She whispers to herself, finally getting it. This was never just about English. It was about courage, about growth, about becoming more
Than I ever believed I could be.
Wow. And the sheer volume of messages, the gratitude, it makes something really clear to her.
Her journey isn't just hers anymore.
It belongs to everyone feeling that fear. So a new notebook, a new mission, the Voice Project, helping others believe their voice matters.
And the plan. A YouTube channel.
Think smart, speak brave. Simple, real stories. Fear, progress, failure, wins. No grammar charts, no textbooks, just raw honesty.
Her first video, filmed simply in her room. The message.
Direct, empathetic. If you're afraid to speak English, you're not alone. An invitation to grow together through peace, not pressure.
She recaps her own journey again.
Reinforcing that core idea, fluency isn't fast words, it's real words, honest words, your words.
And the channel grows, but it's more about community than just views, right?
Absolutely. People from over 80 countries sharing their own stories, it becomes a real community hub.
She starts a new segment, Brave Voices.
Yeah, reading imperfect but powerful stories sent in by her audience, like Fatima from Morocco. The source calls this healing, helping others process her own past struggles.
And the impact reaches schools, playing her videos daily.
Students see someone real, vulnerable, growing, and they start believing they can too. Classrooms start calling her voice their voice.
What a contrast. The girl who hid in the back.
Now has classrooms embracing her voice.
Yeah.
Standing on a bridge, she whispers a new truth. I thought I had to speak perfectly, but now I know. I just had to speak honestly.
Her journal entry from this time nails it.
The smartest thing I ever did was stop waiting for confidence. The bravest thing I ever did was speak anyway. Just gets right to the heart of it.
This growing influence, this authentic voice,
Yeah.
it leads to something even bigger, doesn't it?
An unexpected, almost unbelievable invitation. A real physical letter.
Asking her to be a keynote speaker. Where?
The World Forum on Language Learning and Global Communication in Geneva.
Whoa, that's a huge stage.
Massive. They recognized her not just for language, but for courage, clarity, connection, for having something important to say about finding power in everyday speech.
The journey there must have been quite reflective.
You bet. Thinking about how far she'd come internally and externally.
She arrives at this grand hall. Experts, professors, policymakers, cameras. But she feels ready.
Ready, on stage, Simple dress, no slides, no stats, just her voice, her truth.
And her message, humble, direct.
Very. I'm not an expert linguist. I'm someone who was once silent. She talks about the power of everyday speech, words to friends, stories when scared, questions when unsure.
Reiterating that core message.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but present.
Not trying to sound like a native, but like a human.
And she offers this beautiful definition of the highest level of fluency.
Helping someone else say, I believe in myself.
Standing ovation, not just for the words.
For the heart, the vulnerability, the truth. And the opportunities that follow are huge, creating educational modules, mentoring refugees, a documentary.
But her favorite message, this horse says, came from a tiny school in India.
Yeah, playing her videos under a tree, a little girl teaching others, saying, if Alina can speak, so can I. That's the real echo.
Standing in Geneva, looking out, she whispers another realization.
Fluency is not volume, it's value. The value her words bring.
Back home, she launches a new channel series, From Silence to Speech, featuring others' voices. Creates a free online toolkit.
Based on trust, journaling, courageous challenges, not tests.
And then the ultimate step. The book. Think smart, speak brave.
Not a textbook. Her story, letters, journal pages, lessons encourage. Its success comes from that raw honesty.
A reviewer summed it up perfectly.
Alina teaches not just how to speak English, but how to speak without fear.
And the final message in her book. A direct invitation.
You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not alone. Your voice matters. Let the world hear it. And that last sentence.
Fluency begins the moment you stop hiding. Powerful.
So returning home wasn't an end, but planting seeds where it all began. The place is the same. She's different.
Her purpose? Help others, starting at her old school.
And there she meets Tara, hiding in silence, notebook of drawings, freezing, a perfect mirror of young Alina.
Someone who didn't believe her voice was even allowed.
After Alina talks to the class, Tara whispers, do you think I could ever speak like you?
And Alina's response is the core of everything she learned.
Don't speak like me, speak like you. Don't worry about sounding smart or wrong. Birds sing because the world needs their song. Your voice is needed too.
This leads to voice time. Weekly meetings with Tara and others.
A space with no judgment. Laughing through mistakes, simple stories, breathing, using mirrors to see themselves as speakers.
And Alina's constant gift, patience.
And Tara transforms, starts asking questions, gives a speech not perfect, but powerful because it's hers.
How does Tara end her speech?
I used to hide my words, now I share them. She gives Alina a bookmark. Your voice gave me mine. Oh, that's beautiful.
Voice time grows. Community center, volunteers, parents, students coming after work, walking miles.
They're learning confidence, clarity, connection, not just English.
We hear examples. Raj giving a presentation, Fatima asking a doctor questions, Omar recording a bedtime story.
And Alina keeps repeating that mantra. You are not just learning to speak English. You are learning to speak your truth. Voice time spreads globally.
Years later, Tara is a youth mentor herself, quoting Alina.
Reminding her students, smart people use simple words that reach the heart. I learned that from someone who helped me hear my own voice. What a legacy.
Alina reflects. She dreamed of fluency for herself. Now she's planted it in others. Smart thinking, fluent speaking. It was never about showing off.
Always about showing up. For yourself and crucially for others.
And the echo continues. The source closes with an email. Quiet Sunday morning from Ahmed in Morocco.
You changed my life. He describes his small town, few opportunities, dreaming not just of English, but confidence, truth, meaning, dreams locked inside.
Until he found Alina on YouTube.
She spoke slowly, clearly, authentically, like she was right there with him. He learned courage from her, not just grammar.
And that one line hit him hard.
Fluent is not perfect. Fluent is brave. Changed everything.
He copied her videos, practiced in the mirror, whispered her phrases, tried to capture her spirit.
Started small, joined an online group inspired by her, the Brave Fluents.
And his first speech in English to classmates. Terrifying.
Voice shaking, hands trembling, but he did it. And his closing words echo Alina's own journey back at the cafe.
I thought I had to be perfect, but now I know I just have to be me.
Ahmed's letter shows the ripple effect. Her story reached him, taught him to believe again. Her story lives on every time he speaks.
Alina's response is simple, powerful, passing the torch.
You are the story now. Never stop speaking, dreaming. Someone is listening, learning, growing because you showed up.
The source ends reflecting on the world feeling brighter with these voices rising. Once hidden, now powerful, declaring, I am here.
The final takeaways from Alina's incredible journey.
The smartest thoughts, shared with honesty, most fluent words, spoken with heart, most beautiful voices, often belong to those who once believed they had none.
The epilogue mentions 5 years later a global movement. Ahmed, Tara carrying it forward, Alina treasuring the personal stories. Her journey wasn't easy, doubts, mistakes, fear.
But also hope, friendship, courage. And the key lessons for us. Thinking smart means being curious, open, kind to yourself.
Speaking fluent means being brave enough to share your story, flaws and all. Greatest power isn't grammar mastery, it's inspiring others.
And the best stories, well, they're lived one brave word at a time.
So, thinking about all this, what does this deep dive into Alina's story really mean for you, the listener, right now?
Alina found her perceived weaknesses, mistakes, fear, slowness actually became her strengths, her most powerful message. So what mistake are you maybe fearing right now that could actually become a bridge for your learning, your growth?
And how can you start thinking smartly about finding your own voice? Maybe focusing, like Alina did, on clarity, presence, connection, not speed or perfection, even if it just starts as a whisper.
And maybe the biggest question, what would it truly mean for you to speak not just fluently, whatever that means in your context, but to speak bravely? What story are you holding inside that's maybe ready to be shared? Because somewhere, the world needs to hear your song too.